Hello, here we are with the second course about ethics in business. Today, we'll revise vocabulary, grammar, and morphology. Hello, Mrs. Ben Khalil.
Hello, Mr. Dahmas.
What have you prepared to revise vocabulary today?
Today we are going to match words and their synonyms.
Great.
Hello, everybody. Let's start reading the sentences before we do our activity. Focus on the underlined words as usual. Counterfeiters forge all sorts of products. Counterfeit products are of lower quality than genuine ones. Here, there are two underlined words. Pay attention. The authorities must pass stringent laws to fight counterfeiting. Fake labels on packaging deceive consumers. Let's do our activity now. Pay attention. As usual, we have to find if the words are verbs, nouns, or adjectives. This will help us with the activity. The first word, forge, is a verb. And deceive also is a verb. Counterfeit, stringent, and genuine are adjectives. Right? Let's now read the synonyms. Abuse is a verb. Which other word is a verb? Right, imitate also is a verb. What about the three other words? Authentic, fake, and tricked. They are adjectives. Right, let's correct now. The first verb, to forge, yes, it matches with to imitate. The second verb, to deceive, it matches with abuse. What about the three other words, the adjectives? Counterfeit, it goes with fake, right? Stringent is a synonym of strict. And the last one, genuine, is a synonym of authentic. Good. That's all for our vocabulary exercise, Mr. Dahmas.
Thank you, Mrs. Ben Khalil. You had better take into consideration the pieces of advice given by Mrs. Ben Khalil. The second part of our lesson is grammar. What is in the program, Mrs. Ben Khalil?
You have just used the words had better when you talk to the pupils. In fact, this is our grammar lesson today. Okay, let's consider the sentences together. Consumers had better avoid buying counterfeits. Consumers should avoid buying counterfeits, and consumers ought to avoid buying counterfeits. As you notice, we can use had better or should or ought to in the same way. Let's read the second example. This time it's in the negative form. They had better not consider them as reliable goods. They shouldn't consider them as reliable goods. They ought not to consider them as reliable goods. Now, what do had better and had better not express? To help you, we have given you three possibilities. So choose the right answer. Do they express advice, obligation, or condition? Right, they express advice. The short form of had better is d better, or had better not, d better not. But it can be used only when we have pronouns, as in the second example. They had better not consider them as reliable goods. They'd better not consider them as reliable goods. We cannot say consumers had better and consumers better. We cannot use the short form when the subject is a noun, right? Do you know other words used to express advice? Yes, I'm sure you do. Yes, we can use the verb, I advise you to. Any other one? To help you, I can say that it starts with if. Yes, right. If I were you, I would. So as you can see, there are different ways of expressing advice. Let's recapitulate them. Had better, should, ought to, I advise you to, and If I were you, I would. Right. Let's practice now. Rewrite sentence B so that it means the same as A. I advise you to be more careful when purchasing goods. Start the second sentence with you'd. Are you ready? Yes, let's correct it. You'd better be more careful when purchasing goods. Right, the second sentence. If I were you, I wouldn't use this product. And the sentence you are going to write starts with you'd again. Pay attention, it's in the negative. Right. You'd better not use this product. The third and last sentence. Citizens should denounce any bureaucratic abuse. And you start your sentence with citizens had. Okay, citizens had better denounce any bureaucratic abuse. Good, well done. Let's move to the second part of our lesson now. Consider the two examples. Citizens had better denounce bureaucratic abuse. It's high time, or it's about time, citizens denounced bureaucratic abuse. What difference do you notice? Yes, had better is followed by the verb in the infinitive without to, that is the stem, whereas it's high time is followed by the subject and the verb in the past. We can rewrite the sentence, it's high time or it's about time, using should in the past, that is, should have, and the past participle, as in the following example. Citizens should have denounced bureaucratic abuse earlier than before. We use this form to show that, to express advice, but to show that we are a little late. We should have started this before. This is why we always finish the sentence with earlier or before. Right, let's fill in the gaps now to get the sentence structure. The subject, then the first gap, plus the second gap, and the rest of the sentence and earlier than before. Let's correct it. The subject and should have, plus the past participle of the verb, right? And the rest of the sentence, and it ends with earlier than now or before. Right, let's move to the practice now. Write sentence B so that it means the same as A. It's high time the mayor kept his promises. Start sentence with the mayor and it ends with before. Right? It's the mayor should have kept his promises before. Right, let's move to the second sentence. The authorities should have passed more stringent anti-corruption laws earlier than now. This time you start your sentence with it's about time. Okay, let's correct it. It's about time the authorities passed more stringent anti-corruption laws. The third example. It's high time the inspectors controlled the quality of goods. And you start your sentence with the subject, the inspectors, and the sentence ends with earlier than now. Okay, let's correct it. The inspectors should have controlled the quality of goods earlier than now. Our grammar lesson is finished, Mr. Dahmas.
Thank you, Mrs. Ben Khalil. If I were you, I would revise my lessons to get ready for the back exam. The last part of our course deals with morphology. What are we going to see in morphology, Mrs. Ben Khalil?
Today we are going to study deriving words.
Deriving words. Great. You certainly remember that Mrs. Ben Khalil told us in the first session that there was no specific rule for deriving words in English. You just need some practice. So let's practice with Mrs. Ben Khalil.
All right, pupils, let's start practicing. Complete the following table as shown in the example, of course. In the example, you are given the noun, the verb, and the adjective. And you have to give me either the verb or the noun or the adjective. It depends on what I give you first, right? Counterfeit, the verb. The noun is a counterfeit or counterfeiting or counterfeiter. Sometimes we may have more than one possibility. The adjective is counterfeit. The first word you start with is the noun, forgery. What is its verb? Right, to forge. And the adjective? Forged. Good. The second one, you are given the verb this time, to bribe. What's the noun? We have many possibilities. A bribe, the briber, bribery. The adjective is bribable. Good. The third word, you are given the adjective, imitated. The verb is easy to find, to imitate. The noun also is easy, imitation. To corrupt. The noun is, right, corruption, and the adjective, corrupt. The next word, the verb to consume. The noun is consumption or consumer, right? And the adjective is consuming. The next one, to manufacture, right? The noun can be manufacture, manufacturing, and the adjective manufactured. The last one, the noun is benefit, the verb to benefit, and the adjective beneficial. That's all for our lesson today, Mr. Dahmas.
Thank you, Mrs. Ben Khalil. Next time, we'll see matching words and definitions and expressing consequence with so that and such that. We will also deal with the passive voice. You will need to understand better the lesson to revise the tenses and particularly the conjugation of the auxiliary verb to be in the different tenses. That's all for today. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
Goodbye.